Welcome back. And today we are here to mark a really pivotal moment in your learning.
A huge moment, actually.
Yeah, a really huge moment. You have just completed day 3 of the RuiEnglish Your Learning Journey course.
And that means you tackled structure for innovation and crafting clarity with clauses.
2 massive concepts, and you brought them together.
Exactly. This is so much more than just learning new things. You've successfully merged this structured, creative way of thinking with some really advanced linguistic precision. And that combination is just so, I think the right words are edifying and profoundly enriching. It really turns language into a professional thinking tool.
That's it. That's the perfect way to put it. The goal here wasn't just about, ticking off vocabulary lists or grammar rules.
Not at all.
It was about getting you to a place where you can use English to analyze, to discuss, and to actually design solutions.
You've made that shift from just sort of studying the mechanics of the language to actually using it as a sophisticated instrument.
Right. An instrument to articulate really complex ideas and even inventions.
And that lets you explain not just what happened, but the whole story behind it.
The entire causal chain.
Yes. Why a problem was there in the first place, how a solution was structured, and what the final impact really was.
Okay, so let's unpack that a bit, starting with that breakthrough in structural thinking.
Good idea.
We often think of innovation as this lightning strike, pure chaos, sudden genius.
Right, the lone genius myth.
Exactly. But what you discovered is that real lasting innovation is almost always about building clear structures.
Yeah.
Or sometimes refining them.
And what's so fascinating in the examples you analyzed is that the success stories weren't about adding complexity. So often, it was about removing friction.
Okay, let's talk about the e-commerce example.
Yeah, that was a great one. So customers were getting to the checkout and then just leaving.
Abandoning their carts.
Right. And the analysis showed it was because the process was just too long, too complicated.
And the solution.
Right.
The structural fix wasn't some flashy new feature.
No, not at all. It was about looking at the existing structure and spotting the single biggest barrier.
The forced registration.
Forcing everyone to create an account. A simple structural tweak, adding a guest checkout option, removed that friction.
Which is why sales just skyrocketed.
That's it. It's that principle of subtraction leading to this massive success.
And we saw that exact same principle in the supermarket example.
Absolutely. The manager saw that all their health and wellness products were just
Scattered everywhere.
Scattered across different aisles. It was a visibility problem, a structural problem. So by organizing that information, by creating one dedicated section, they solved that fragmentation.
Which meant their sales doubled in just 3 months.
Incredible, isn't it?
It's an incredibly motivating insight, I think. The idea that simplicity and organization can lead to such tangible, measurable results.
And it applies to everything.
Everything. Whether you're designing a huge corporate system or even just creating a simple weekly study schedule for yourself, it's the same principle.
Okay, so if structure is the blueprint, how do we talk about it? How do we turn that plan into language that other people can understand and act on?
And that brings us to the linguistic toolkit that you've been mastering.
A toolkit that is just so empowering for articulating this whole process.
Yeah, we're talking about those core action verbs you can now use with total confidence.
Like analyze a problem or explore alternatives.
Right, or find a solution, organize information. These are the actual steps of innovation. And now you can name them, you can label them with precision.
And that's where the grammar power-up was so crucial, your mastery of those non-defining relative clauses.
Those powerful which clauses.
Exactly. You're not just adding extra details anymore. You are actively crafting clarity. You're connecting the structural fix directly to the effect.
I think that's the key. You move beyond just listing rules. You actually use them to make your points instantly clear. So when you say something like, the checkout was frustrating, which is why they added the guest feature, you're not just stating facts.
No, you're explaining the motivation, the reason for the change, seamlessly.
And then when you follow up with that fix stabilized conversion rates, which means that the analysis was correct, you're immediately showing the successful result.
It connects logic, cause, and consequence in a way that is just, it's incredibly professional.
And what I found so uplifting about this part of your journey was the extension you then made.
Oh, yes.
You learned to use these clauses not just for cold, hard facts, but to connect your reasoning with emotion, with human impact.
Absolutely. You started using them to persuade, to add real impact. So instead of just the facts, you might say, The new organization doubled sales, which delighted the management.
That one word, delighted, changes everything.
It does. Or the prototype passed all the tests, which inspired confidence in future projects. You're adding this layer of evaluated insight that makes your communications so much more dynamic.
And speaking of dynamic, let's move on to everyday creativity.
I love this part.
Me too. The insights from the psychologist Zorana Ivchevich, they offered such an energizing perspective.
The idea that creativity isn't just for a few geniuses.
Right. It's not some mystical force. It shines through in how we solve problems every single day.
It just completely demystifies the whole creative process. I mean, look at the example of Rebecca Whitlinger.
Such a great story.
She took this everyday, very specific, and often unwanted object, an old bridesmaid dress.
And she found a structural way to give them a new purpose. She turned it into this successful photo project.
Which means her structured creativity had this massive, real-world, charitable impact.
Raising $90,000. It's incredible.
It really is.
And you practice that same kind of thinking. You were rating those unusual but smart life hacks.
The coffee grounds for houseplants, the cheese grater for earrings.
Yeah. And you were using your near clarity with clauses to explain exactly why those creative fixes worked and what the consequence was.
And then you scaled that thinking way up.
To the power of invention. This is where you applied that same clear analytical lens to some truly word-changing innovations.
Right, you were looking at really contemporary breakthroughs. Things like DeepSeek R1.
Which is totally reshaping AI competition on a global scale.
And the Unitree humanoid robot.
Which means automation is moving out of the factory and into our everyday lives.
And maybe the most important one, the MDCF2 therapeutic food.
A genuine breakthrough in global health, which is why it's such a significant development.
And that dialogue you analyzed between the cognitive scientist and the product designer, it just tied everything together perfectly.
It really did. That conversation just reinforced the core idea of the whole day.
That invention isn't random.
No. It is rooted in a structured thought process. You analyze a situation, you spot a gap, and then you use your creativity to find a solution.
And the ability to talk about that process with clarity, with precision, that is a vital professional competency.
So if we just zoom out for a second and look at the big picture of what you've accomplished, the skills you now own are, well, they're multifaceted.
Yeah.
You have structured problem solving, you have vocabulary precision.
And you have this linguistic clarity that connects reasoning with consequence and even with emotion. The whole day's journey has been, I think, just incredibly motivating and truly inspiring.
And what really stands out, what connects everything for me, is this idea that clarity isn't just about being understood.
It goes deeper than that.
Much deeper. It's about connecting your reasoning with emotion in a way that actually drives people to action.
Yeah.
When you can explain, which is why something matters, you're getting people to invest in your idea.
That ability to translate logic into genuine impact is profound. It's a game changer.
And that's really the final thought we want to leave you with. Innovation, at its heart, starts by looking at the world not just for what it is right now, but for what it could be.
A world of potential.
Exactly. And that precise, clear, structured thinking, when you articulate it with clarity and power, that is the very first step towards shaping the future you see.
So keep exploring, keep solving.
And keep communicating with clarity.